The 50mm standard prime is one of the most popular lenses on the market. In fact, aside from the kit lens that you sometimes get when you buy a camera, it probably is Britain's most owned lens. And certainly in the Sigma lineup, it's extremely popular. And one of the reasons for that is that it's such a versatile piece of kit. You can use it for almost any type of photography. Portraiture, weddings, events, street photography, some landscapes. It really is so versatile. And so much so that some photographers hardly ever take a 50mm off their camera. Take someone like Henri Cartier-Bresson, the famous street photographer, who pretty much spent his entire career with a 50mm on the front of his camera. And that's why I think every photographer should have one in their kit bag. And I'm about to tell you 5 reasons why you should buy Sigma's version, the 50mm F1.4 Art. Most 50mm primes on the market have a maximum aperture setting of f1.8, but Sigma's version has a maximum aperture of f1.4. Now that's important because a wider maximum aperture means a shallower depth of field, and that's going to help you to isolate your subject from the background and help it to stand out, particularly important when shooting portraits. The second advantage is that a wider maximum aperture means more light is coming down the lens and reaching the sensor. Actually, in this case, 2/3 of a stop more light, and therefore it gives you faster shutter speeds if you're working in low light. Now, the difference between f1.4 and f1.8 might not sound like a lot. It's only 2/3 of a stop, right? But actually that means that 1.6 times more light is able to come down your lens and reach a sensor. So that means that you can shoot with shutter speeds more than 60% faster than if you only had f1.8. The second reason that you should buy this lens is that it's sharp, very sharp. Even wide open at f1.4, right in the corners, it's such a good optical performer. There's very little chromatic aberration to speak of, there's hardly any distortion, vignetting is kept to a minimum, and if you're shooting into the sun, flare is extremely well controlled. This really is an impressive bit of kit. But I work for Sigma, don't take my word for it. Get online, read some reviews or watch some reviews, and you'll find that most people are saying the same thing. This thing really is optically very, very impressive. Now, this is constructed with 13 individual glass elements. One of them is an aspherical element, and 3 of them are special low dispersion glass to cut down on flare and ghosting. Now, if you compare that optical design to some of the cheaper f1.8 nifty 50s on the market, they tend to only have 6 or 7 glass elements. So you can see that this is a much more sophisticated optical design. Yes, it makes those other lenses smaller and lighter, but in terms of image quality, they're unlikely to give you the same results. The third reason is build quality. This thing is beautifully constructed, very robust. It's an all-metal barrel, it's got a metal mount. The focus ring has a really nice smooth action on it, which is really important if you're shooting video, and it's nicely damped at both ends. And it's got this petal lens hood, which is very strong, very robust. And you certainly feel that if it was dropped, that would give that front element plenty of protection from damage. And as with all of Sigma's lenses, this was designed and built at its factory in Aizu in Japan. And that's how quality control can be so high. The autofocus on this lens is very fast and very quiet, and that's really important when you're shooting, say, portraits of very fast-moving subjects like children or animals, and they're darting around everywhere, particularly if they're moving quickly towards the camera. If the AF can't keep up, then all of your pictures are going to be slightly out of focus, and you'll end up with not many keepers, not many good shots. And that's particularly true if you're shooting at f1.4, where the depth of field is very shallow, and therefore your plane of sharp focus is very thin. And so if the autofocus is a bit slow, if it lags a little bit, every time you take a shot, your subject will have moved very slightly and they'll be out of focus. So it's really important to have that fast AF so that the time between you choosing your point of focus and the picture being taken is very short. And finally, the price. Now, of course, this is going to cost you more money than your cheap 50mm F1.8, but what you're getting here is a professional quality lens that's going to give you professional quality results. And for me, this is superb value for money. The current street price is around about £570 or £580, but at participating retailers until April the 9th, we're offering a further £50 off this. So that takes it down to about £520. And I think that's rattling good value. You don't need a code. All of those prices will include that discount already. So get online and get yourself ready for summer with a professional quality, ultra wide aperture, 50mm standard prime that will transform the look of your shots.